Hey, I'm Pusher. Today I wanted to talk about my experience with January. So first question, what is January? Well, January is a personal challenge that people take part in the month of January where they make a track or a beat or some kind of musical creation every day for the whole month. And there are two reasons why I decided to do January this year. The first reason was for the personal challenge. I wanted to see what would happen if I tried to do this every day for a whole month. And the second one is because releasing music the traditional way, like on DSPs, like on Spotify and iTunes and Apple Music and all that, it can be like a really tedious and long process. And so January felt like a really cool way to just make something every day and put it out every day to the people that like to listen to my music. So I thought it would be fun to make a video now while the whole experience is still fresh that talks about my expectations going into January and then also how those expectations played out in reality. So my first expectation was that it would be a lot of work, but not impossible. I had made videos similar to it in the past, and they typically only took about 4 hours to like make the track and edit the video and post it and everything. And so my expectation was that while it was going to be potentially a lot of work to organize my life around making sure that I could make something every day, but that I would also be able to definitely finish something in, 4 or 5 or 6 hours every day. And then after that, I would have time to work on other stuff, other production work or my taxes or whatever. My second expectation was that once I sort of got into the routine of making something every day, the inspiration would start to come more naturally and that it wouldn't be uh, much of a problem. And that also I would probably come up with some more interesting stuff once I got into the sort of routine of making something every day. And actually, back in like 2013, before I changed my artist name to Pusher, I did a similar thing. I was reading about Kanye's like 5 beats a day for 3 summers thing and quantity over quality or quality through quantity. And I decided that I would make a track a day until I had something that I was really happy with. And I did that for something like 75 days from like January 1st, 2013 to what would that be? Time in March. And that's actually how I came up with the first few Pusher releases like Islands, Waves, Caves, and Skies and Skyline. And so I felt like because I had done this before years ago, and I feel like I've come such a long way in just my technical and musical abilities since then, that this really would kind of be not that difficult. And my third expectation was to see some kind of social media growth. I was primarily doing the January challenge on Instagram, but I was also posting the songs as a thread on Twitter and on YouTube. And then after the fact, I put all the songs on Bandcamp. But at the end of the day, this was just an experiment to make music and give it regularly to people who wanted to hear it. Okay, so how did these expectations play out in reality? So my first expectation that it would be a lot of work, but manageable. It was way more work than I thought it was going to be. I said that in the past I had made jam videos like this. Well, in the past, it turns out I had made jam videos when I was inspired to make jam videos, and that doing this every single day is much more draining on your creativity and your inspiration. And with a normal schedule, when if you don't feel super inspired to make something, you can go and like do your taxes or whatever. You don't really have that luxury when you have to make something every day. What I really quickly noticed with my personal like inspiration and creativity is that what I always start with is some little nugget or some little seed of inspiration that I fool around with some sounds and I come up with something that I like, and that is sort of what I build the track from. And sometimes, you sit down and you start playing around and you find a sound and you're like, oh, this is cool, and it takes, no time at all to find that little seed. But sometimes you play around for a really long time and you don't find anything that you really like that. And what's even worse and more time consuming is finding something like that you think you like and then starting to build a track around it and a few hours go by and then you realize it's a bit of a dead end. So as a result, some of these tracks were done in 4 hours. I would have the whole song and I would have shot all the parts on all the instruments and edited the video and posted it in like 4 or 5 hours. And then I have the rest of the day to like go for a walk or get groceries or run errands or have a nap. But then on the other hand, if I wasn't feeling super inspired, or if I couldn't find a sound that I really liked, or I couldn't find some chords, or everything just kind of felt stale, or worse still, if I chased down a false lead and it didn't turn into something that I liked at all, and then, you spent 4 or 5 hours working on something that you don't really like and don't want to post, and then you're faced with the decision, like, do I try to workshop this idea that I don't like and I'm not inspired by, or do I completely start over? And so on days like that, it could easily take like 10 to 14 hours to try to finish something that I liked. but most days sort of ranked in between. I'd usually wake up at about 9 or 9:30 in the morning and start comfortably working by 10. And then sometimes the track would be done by like 2 or 3 or 4 p.m. And sometimes the track and the video would all be wrapping up at like midnight, which were long days. But I'd say most of them were sort of done between 6 and 8 p.m. So yeah, some easy days, some difficult days, most of them sort of in between. And what I also found was super interesting was that sometimes it would be a really difficult day and I wouldn't get it done till like 9 or 10 or 11 at night. But some of those tracks ended up being some of the best ones and some of the ones that other people and myself included really liked the most. So yeah, easy days doesn't necessarily make the best quality music. And that sort of brings me to my second expectation, that once I started working on these, the inspiration would flow a little more easily. It's a little hard to tell because 30 days isn't really a very long time. So it was hard to tell if it was just like some days were easy, some days were hard, some days were medium, or if there was sort of a general trend happening where the hard days were getting less hard. It was hard to tell. The one pattern that I did definitely notice was that on a day where I made something that I really, really liked and the engagement was good and people also seemed to really like it and I felt really good about what I had made, the day after that was incredibly difficult. I would find it really difficult to get out of the groove of the previous day's track. And it was a lot more difficult to experiment with something new. I guess because I was still like feeling the track from the day before. Anyway, the day after making something really good was the hardest, pretty much every time. And definitely what I feel is the real enemy in this whole challenge is what I've very stupidly named the inspiration monster. It's basically just trying to feed this thing inside you that needs to stay inspired like every day. And if you don't actively feed that, then it just becomes so difficult and you feel yourself repeating the same ideas every day and it gets monotonous and you don't like what you're making. And that was like my slow downward spiral for like the first 2 weeks of January. And I think at day 14, I decided that what I needed to do was really actively look for things to inspire myself. I even wrote down a list of all the different things that I tried to stay inspired. What I was really looking for was like a silver bullet to my creativity. Something that if I tried it every day, it would work every day. And then I would, meditate or listen to some music in the morning and just feel inspired. And then I would make something in 4 or 5 hours that I really liked. But that wasn't really the case at all. I would meditate one day and make something great. And then I would meditate the next day, and then it would take like 10 or 11 hours. The only real consistent that I found was trying something new every day and just stay inspired with making something different. After all, if you have the same input every day, you're going to have the same output every day. And if you have the same output every day, you're going to get bored with it really quickly. And then the other consistent thing that I really found was just my attitude towards it every day. Like if one day you make something that you think is the best thing you made all month, and then the next thing you make the worst thing that you made all month, that could be like really defeating. Except that if you know you're going to make something the day after that, then you know it's kind of just going to be up and down, and you get a little more comfortable with riding through the ups and downs and just sort of keeping a level head about it. And then also sometimes I would make something and finish editing it and post it and not really be feeling it. And then other people would be really inspired by it. And a lot of the time, even I would come around and eventually like it once I'd kind of stepped away from it a little bit and got a bit of perspective on it. So basically the thing I learned about inspiration is that it's something that you practice every day and not something that you wait to have come to you. All right, and on to my third expectation, which was to see some kind of social media growth. First off, I hate promo. I hate it. I've spent thousands of dollars over the last 4 years trying to promote music in different ways, like with radio or with Facebook ads or with whatever. I personally have always felt that good music is its own promotion, but in the past I have remained open to, throwing a small amount of money into advertising just to see what happens. For the January experiment, I didn't want to put any money into it at all. I wanted to see what would happen organically if I just posted songs every day and put hashtags on them that I felt were relevant to whatever was in the song. Another possible outcome that I was aware of was one of these larger promo pages that posts beats from a whole bunch of different producers all around Instagram, maybe posting something and getting a bit of a boost from that. So here's what actually happened with my social media growth. I did actually see some pretty good organic growth. From the start of the month to the end of the month, I saw an increase of about 400 followers, which was about a 15% increase. My engagement didn't grow in a super noticeable way. Most of the videos were getting between 400 and 1,000 views and between 100 and 250 likes. And some of the earliest videos are around the 1,000 mark, and some of the middle videos are around the 400 mark. So it wasn't like every day was bigger than the previous day. But I definitely got the sense that if I were to keep doing it, it would eventually slowly grow bigger and bigger and bigger. And I did definitely see a correlation between the ones that were being saved and shared the most and the ones that were being viewed and liked the most. So it did actually seem like a fairly organic situation, which was really nice to see. No big promotion pages shared any of the videos, but I did actually learn something about paid promo on Instagram. It turns out that these larger pages actually do charge you $30 or $40 to post just a single one of your videos. Now, I didn't want to put any money into the January videos. I just wanted to see what would happen organically, and I'm a little bit on the fence about paying for something like that. I did ask some of my more Instagram savvy friends what they thought of paying for Instagram promo, and some of them said, sure, for $30 or $40, like, why not give it a try? Just promo. And then some of them said like it's not really worth it, and a lot of the bigger pages are followed by bots, so it's hard to tell if you're going to get any real traffic or if you're just going to mess up your whole algorithm and get banned from Instagram or whatever. So I'm on the fence. I honestly don't know. But what I do know is that Instagram's owned by Facebook, and I have 12,000 followers on Facebook, and I can't reach 1,000th of them with a post unless I pay them. And I used to have really good organic reach, then I paid for a couple posts, and now I have no organic reach. So I definitely didn't want to pay for any sponsored Instagram ads. It sort of seems like sponsoring posts is a good route if you have a lot of money to put into it, but if you're just going to put like $20 or $40 into it, I feel like it just kind of attracts bots and messes up everything. And then you get no reach unless you continue to pay. That is, however, anecdotal evidence. Maybe it's not true. That's just been my experience with sponsoring ads. But then we get to the real benefit, which ended up being the social benefits. I got a bunch of new followers, most of which I think are not bots, and it's definitely encouraging when you're up until like 11 or 12 at night and you kind of hate the thing that you're making, but you're on this grind. It's definitely encouraging to get comments from people saying that they got inspired, or sending you messages, or asking questions, or just engaging with you. And it's just sort of like this online music community that I honestly haven't gotten from any kind of social media since like 2015, back when Facebook and SoundCloud were still relevant in the music industry. And so that was really great. It was really great to connect with new people and, answer questions and talk about things. Yeah, that actually ended up being like super inspiring and encouraging. So that was great. And then also I connected with a bunch of creators who I really admire, who were, sending comments or messages. And obviously it feels great to get good feedback from someone who's inspired you for years. So yeah, benefits largely social. Why they call it social media, right? Anyway, that's pretty much what I did all of January 2019. If you want to see the videos or hear the songs, they live on YouTube, and there's a Twitter thread of them, and they're all obviously on Instagram. I've uploaded the high quality WAV files of all of the like little jams to Bandcamp. I got a lot of comments from people asking if I was going to turn them into full songs, and honestly, I don't know. Right now I have a lot of production work to catch up on, and so I'm going to keep posting new ones to Instagram and YouTube, but it can't be daily because I just have a lot of stuff that I've been ignoring for a month that I really have to get to. Ideally, eventually I would like to turn at least some of them into an EP or an LP, or get vocals on some of them. But mostly I just did it for the experiment to see what would happen if I made a track every day for a month. Anyway, thanks for watching. Catch you next time.